Now I want to get to this is the juicy stuff. I think this is what people want to know about. What is the emerging research in leptomeningeal disease? And I would love for you to comment on clinical trials. I know you lead many, and I would like to hear if there's any lepto trials ongoing right now. That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Please let us know.
absolutely. So that in and of itself is a long talk, but I'll mention a few that I think are kind of nice to keep on the horizon. And what I also want to say is that the climate of the clinical trial portfolio that we have on clinicaltrials.gov across the country, across the world, changes on a daily, weekly, monthly basis because these things open and close. So I could mention things now, and the status of them could be really different by the time this recording happens or by the time you watch this recording. So please take it with a grain of salt depending on the time that you are seeing this. And I would encourage everyone to go to clinicaltrials.gov, and you can type in leptomeningeal disease and find out everything that's open at that given moment. So,
And we'll also have a trial search on our website
oh,
that,
great.
you can actually input the data of your subtype, your all of that information, and it's just a little bit easier to manage than the
Yeah.
clinicaltrials.gov website. But I've definitely used it, and leptomeningeal is such a distinct term that you can definitely find some trials.
No, absolutely. So then I guess to answer your question, there are many trials ongoing right now. There are a few dozen in the US that are going on, and some include novel administrations of intrathecal therapies. So for example, there's an intrathecal nivolumab study ongoing. There's an intrathecal combination of trastuzumab and pertuzumab ongoing. There is
Okay, so that would be for HER2 positive
HER2
patients.
that one's
Okay.
HER2 positive disease. There's also an ongoing study with pembrolizumab for all solid tumor patients. There's a novel compound that had very positive phase 2 results that was published last year. And so there's going to be actually the first planned registration study, phase 3 randomized registration study in leptomeningeal disease with the drug called ANG1005. It's called the ANGLED study. That's planned to open early next year. So there's a lot of forward movement and many more that I'm leaving out. And so there's an ongoing one actually with tucatinib, which I know you were talking about earlier with the HER2
Yes.
study. So there are. I feel bad for the many studies that I'm leaving out right now, but it's just to say, we're encouraged and we're moving forward. And there are more studies now than there were a few years ago, more than there were a year ago. And we do need to just keep that momentum going and keep adding more and more to lepto and brain metastases studies.
Absolutely. We just need more trials in general. And I think that's the other, piece of this whole, initiative is that we want to advance research for patients living with central nervous system disease. So, and we will have all these trials will be listed in our website. So don't worry if you're forgetting any. I just wanted to comment though that you had mentioned a few of the drugs you mentioned were actually immunotherapy drugs. And
Mhm.
so, and some of what you talked about would be administered through that Ommaya port that we talked about before. So that's one type of trial. But I was very interested in I'm not sure how you said it, ANG 1005. Is that,
Yeah.
and is that actually chemotherapy? That's a chemotherapy drug,
It's
right?
an antibody drug conjugate. So what that means is,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's an antibody that's basically meant to help cross blood-brain barrier and blood CSF barrier.
Yes.
And then it's an antibody that's bonded to 3 compounds of paclitaxel, which is a chemotherapy. So it
Yes.
actually gets the chemotherapy to the location that it's intended to get to.